Joining us now here on In the Circle, back with us. Of course, she's an alum at Villanova, the head coach at Villanova, fresh off the NCAA Tournament appearance, first time ever at Villanova, her ninth overall as a coach. I speak of course, our good friend Bridget Orchard joins us back here on In the Circle. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing great. Now, the last time we had you on the podcast, we talked about you coming to Villanova and your goal to lead the program to the NCAA tournament. Well, you did that in 2021. It was dramatic, probably a little more dramatic you would have liked, as we'll talk about. But now that you had an offseason to reflect on your making the tournament, playing in obviously in Tempe, winning the Big East championship, what do you think back now when you accomplishing that goal and leading your alma mater to the NCAA tournament?
Just really, I'm just I kind of take a page out of Jay Wright's book, doing it for those who played before us. And it just meant so much to me because all the alumni, obviously myself being an alumni. So my college roommates and my friends that I played with, my teammates, obviously my coach, Marie Bernardi, who I took over for, just being able to do that for them. My first year seniors in 2019, we had four seniors that were amazing and we just fell really, really short. We were right in it. And I think doing it for them and everybody that came before us is really what made us super excited. And kind of when we look back on it, like all the coaches reached out to us from all the other sports, at Villanova. And I just think to feel like the alumni excitement and our fellow coaches excitement and everybody was just really proud of us. It was really huge.
Take me through that Big East tournament because it was an anticipated tournament. It was at UConn, a great facility. Obviously, they're at the home team and they played great to get to the championship game. You have you and DePaul, which were battling all year in the regular season. There was from the outside, there was a lot of talk about, hey, all of you in the mix for the NCAA tournament. But it would have come down to this tournament, and you obviously come out of the losers bracket. You got to come out of the losers bracket all of a sudden. It was a wild tournament. You pull it off. Just take us through that process because it was not easy. But you were able to do it and eventually get to the championship game and beat UConn twice at their backyard to win that elusive title. Just take me through that tournament.
I mean, it was awesome, obviously, looking back at it. During it, we didn't want to lose that first game. We didn't want to do it the hard way. But nowadays you look back and you're like, well, we really did. If you're going to do it for your first one, we're going to make it tough and we're going to make it the hard way. And we're going to have to battle and drop the first game, come back. Obviously you have to face DePaul, who was our nemesis, who, had beat us in the 19 championship. So we sat on that loss for 2 years now, waiting to play them again. And we played a tough Butler team, come back at UConn, amazing facility, and have to beat them twice. I think I'm just, again, looking back at what our girls did and what they accomplished and how they came together. And just, again, I think the experience was huge for us. We had been there before. We've been there. We've done that. It wasn't anything, you can see the faces. And once we won the first game on championship day, and we didn't celebrate. We didn't get excited. We took care of business, walked up the field, got ready for game two, where I think that's when I kind of had a gut feeling like this is going to happen because they were just all about business, and it was heartbreaking that first loss. And we took it tough. And I think watching the other teams celebrate as they won games and knowing that, we've been in it before. Obviously Paige being with me, and Angela and Ryan and Sydney, they were there in 19. So they know that, like it's never over till it's over. It really isn't. So there wasn't going to be any early celebrating. There wasn't going to be any victory laps or dances. Like, let's finish thing off. And I was just proud of them. They were just all business and they took care of it. It was amazing to watch.
Take me through that last game and that last out. And you realize we did it. We won the Big East championship, and you've won conference championships before, and they're all special. But I would imagine that this happened. I mean, what were your feelings like? I mean, this was, we've talked about this when you've been on before. I mean, when you took the job, I think people, while they understood it, they were like, wow, she's taking a big chance here. Leaving, obviously, what you build at Fordham, and can you win at Villanova? That's what the outside people were thinking. And to accomplish that, what went through your mind once that last out was made?
They really had to watch it again because it was unreal. I think I blacked out. I probably through the whole championship. So we were so excited that Joe Baker, our videographer, happened to travel with us that weekend, and literally I had to go back and watch some of it because I was like, well, I don't even remember this happening or that going out, or just it's excitement and you're freaking out. And I think we were up like 6-1. And I'm in the dugout already paid. Like, again, it happened to us in 19. So we were never like, hey, we won. So we're like, they can come back. In my mind, I'm thinking they can come back. They can come back. I had a walk, a home run, and they're back in it again. But again, Paige hit the home run in the top, I think, of the seventh. So it gave us a little bigger cushion. So I started getting a little excited, but I think I went up to one of our freshman pitchers, Carolyn Pelicano. There's like 2 outs in the seventh. And I'm like, you ready to go? You ready to go? And she's looking at me like, are you crazy? Like, this game is over, coach. And I'm like, no, get ready. And I'm like pacing in the dugout, like, no, we got to have you ready because this could end. So I think I didn't enjoy it as much during it, but obviously after it, it was just, like you said, it was just super exciting to see what they had accomplished. And really, I think the team coming together and what they were able to do as teammates. Obviously Paige is a big part, and they were walking her, and then Ange gets up and hitting grand slam. Megan Kearns hitting home runs, and Julia DaCosta went off and was hitting home runs, and Chloe and Ryan Henry. I mean, we had every single person that could possibly step up, stepped up. Allie Jones is hitting game time home runs, diving and making catches behind the plate. And it wasn't just like one person. We said, okay, don't throw to Paige Route. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter, because you know what? You throw to her and you don't throw to her, then Angela's going to step up. But then looking back at it, I'm like, our lineup was just tough to face, especially that weekend. Really was tough to face. There was nobody you're going to. Danny Dabrowski, our left field, there's a slapper, was hitting triples. She was stealing bases, scoring runs. And I mean, when I watch it, and again, during it, don't even realize how well we were playing and what we were doing until after. But it really was just a full team effort, and being able to come in and accomplish it was huge.
How many of your former teammates and other, alums you heard after you won that championship? Because I would imagine there were a lot of pride there, because we talked about when you played there and you wanted to bring this so bad. What was that like, hearing from them either right after that or even this off season?
It was so cool, especially nowadays with cell phones. You pick up my phone, I'm like, oh my gosh, like everybody's calling and texting and sending messages. I got like voice memos, I got videos. People came out and cheered us on. We had Mia Brickhouse, who I played with, showed up at the stadium in person to watch all the way up to UConn. We had people that were coming, that were showing up, and it was during COVID. So it was crazy because we had so many fans, both UConn and Villanova. I mean, they had a hill behind center field because there's limited capacity, and it was full. I mean, the atmosphere in the crowd was just super exciting to see all these people. And like I said, hearing back from them and just people calling and reaching out. And then it was really hit us like, we really did something cool, really did something special. I think the girls all felt that, it was nice being at UConn where all the families could drive there. So we had a lot of fans there. It made it, I think, even more special for them to celebrate with us. All players drove up there on the hill, watching their friends play. So it was just cool to feel like the family atmosphere of Villanova is what we kind of always talk about a lot. It sounds cliche, like, oh, we have family at Villanova, but it really, really is, because it was sincere and genuine with, all the coaches reaching out and supporting us and wishing us luck, or, showing up in person. It was really cool.
You get to send out to Tempe, Arizona, as a 3 seed, which I did predict. So as I recall, remember I told you that you're probably going to be a 3 seed and out west. But boy, that now, and looking back on it, now you could say you were part of Mike Kendrea's last regional. We didn't know that at the time.
No.
You played in that regional. So this was your first regional with Villanova. It's Villanova's first regional. Turns out it's Mike Kendrea's last regional. Describe that experience. And now looking back on it, realizing, wow, I get to say I was in Mike Kendrea's last regional.
No, absolutely. And it's amazing. And just seeing, like you said, Mike Kendrea, I mean, I grew up watching him, wanting to play at UCLA, Arizona were the two big schools when I was playing. To actually get to Arizona, and obviously their amazing facility there, and just the area and the support that they get, and get sellout crowds. And again, for the first experience for Villanova, I couldn't ask for any other one. Obviously, wins or losses aside, it's like to have these girls walk in there and be like, this is a regional, like this is capacity. I mean, and then we watched, I think it was the Ole Miss Arizona game, we're warming up, and these girls are hitting it over the left field bleachers. I was like, oh, we'd have loved to play in Arizona. I'm like, it's all right, we're good. We're good. we'll say hi to them when we're leaving, But I think, again, it's just all about the experience of the student athletes. Now we're looking back, and as I'm getting older, and see, the relationships we form with the players, and their parents, and why they play softball. And for these girls, that's, as little girls, they dream to go play. And so it's like, if you're going to go big and get a chance to go to Arizona, and it's like, wow, we're going to play one of the best teams in the country. I mean, every team that's in the regionals is going to be good, but like you said, the historic of Arizona and Mike Kendrea, the best of the best all time. I mean, I have videotapes of him coaching, and he at coaching conventions always kind of looked up to him and what he's done with that program, and to see their banners on the wall and the national championships, and just kind of be in awe of these people, and yet you're on the same field with them, I think is really special and really cool. And I know all the parents that got to travel out there with us just got to soak in this experience that they earned it, and this is what they get in rewards. It was really special for us.
Yeah, I remember you talking to the Arizona media prior to that regional, talk about how you were excited to be with Mike Kendrea and how he's had an influence on your career growing up, just idolizing what he's done and what he's built the program, and how you envision that on your programs. It's just kind of wild to see it there in person. You go 1-2 in that regional. You beat UMBC, which was an underrated great matchup. It was Paige against Coppersmith, who's a fantastic pitcher herself. Describe that experience for your program to win that first NCAA tournament game and overall getting that experience now moving forward. What does that do for your program and your team specifically coming back?
I think it's huge. I'm a big believer on experience. You can't really teach experience. They have to go through it. They have to feel it. They have to know it. So I think getting that first win, I know we were super excited, super nervous. We did feel prepared for that game. But again, coming out with a win kind of proved to the girls, like, you could do this. You're there. You're supposed to be there. You deserve to be here. And again, as close game as it was, like we had faced her, we had watched them play Arizona. Coppersmith was, really shut them down for a few innings there, and then they hit a couple long balls, and that was that. But she pitched well against them, so we knew it was going to be a tough matchup. And we had played them during the season and split with them, so we knew it was going to be tough. But I think it's just mentality for our girls, knowing like, hey, we can go out there, we can win, and I think we can ride that into this year. If we get lucky enough to get to a regional, I think they're going to be a little bit more relaxed, knowing we've been there, we've done this, and we did get a regional win.
Now, the interesting thing is, obviously, the players got celebrated. I'm sure they've gotten pats on the back. Off season, great job, everything. As a coach now, how do you balance that out? Having that success and experience, but now at the same time, it's realized, hey, you're 0-0 now, and you're going to have a target on your back, especially when you get into conference play. So how do you handle that to make sure the players don't get too, I wouldn't say the word complacent, but like I said, everybody's telling them they're great. So how do you coach against making sure they don't read too much of their clippings?
Yeah, no, we talk about that a lot. Not getting too high and not getting too low. And I have to do that for myself, check myself there. Don't get too down, don't get too high. I mean, we're going to start out. I mean, I think how we're going to handle it, we're going to start off with a really tough preseason. So I think they're going to be humbled pretty quick. That usually happens to us. We go out and we're like, hey, here you're going to go. We're going to face Duke and Florida and Louisville right out of the gate. So I think that that in itself is going to humble them a little bit. But they know, I think that they know it's tough to get there. But I think the hardest part is staying there. And the climb it's fun, enjoyable. It's great to be the underdog, but I think it is harder, speaking for experience, to stay there. Like you said, the targets are on your back and there's no days off, and you got to keep getting there, because once you get there, in order to stay there, it takes a lot more work and sacrifice and effort than you ever did just to get there.
You told me that in the past when we've talked about you want to schedule tough non-conference. You don't mind being on the road for 5-6 weeks because you want your team to be tested early. And you want to know what you need to work on, what things have to improve before you get to conference play. And if you have to humble your team, that'll do it. Is that part of the strategy when you play this non-conference? Obviously, it's a resume standpoint, but to get them really battle tested and find out the highs and lows now, because you don't want to find out when you get to conference.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the big thing, and it's worked for us, and they get it, and it does. It humbles them, makes them work harder. They fight back. You kind of see your flaws. Obviously, when you're winning games, you think you're good, and you think you don't have things to work on. When you're losing games, you're back at it. They're working harder. They nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to lose. They all want to win. So I think getting them after it. Even like I set our team already. Like when we got our first tournament, we go to Georgia Tech first. We don't know the schedule of that yet, but we got the Florida tournament. So as soon as we got it, we listen, you're like nervous and excited at the same time. So I already sent it out to them, like, hey, look at this, we got to get after it, because if you want to embarrass yourself, you better get down, then you better get after it in the off season. So we're working hard now, knowing that obviously we're prepping for the Big East, and that's our goal. But at the same time, we're going to face some top teams that you guys, we're playing Florida. You watch them on TV all the time. Our freshmen coming in, this is who you're going to play against. And I think that a lot of times they're in awe, but at the same time, it's like, you got to work if you want to get out there. And it is a great experience for us, because they're, bigger, faster, stronger. So you say, hey, you're going to see a lot of balls flying out of the park, and you got to figure out how you're going to not let that happen, and how you're going to handle that. How are you going to handle that failure? How are you going to get better? And what are you going to learn from it? I think some of the best games we had in my earlier career, when I was at Fordham, we used to go to Palm Springs, and it was humbling, and it's tough. And it's tough for me every year as a coach. I know what's going to happen. I'm still like, this is, what if we can't get it out? What if we can't get it out? Like, this is going to be crazy. And usually that doesn't happen. We've had some games that we played, and it was torture, but at the end, it was really good for them. And that's what, when we recruit, that's what they want to come play. They want to play the best of the best, and they want to be challenged, and they want to compete, and they want to get after it. And they know, this is going to get us better. It's going to be tough, but they're excited for it. I think this is what keeps them going in the off season, knowing that we got to grind at the beginning, and not even just the opponents we play, but the schedule we play. Where you're going to have to play 5 games in a weekend. We're going to do that 4 weekends in a row, and you're going to be traveling. And we had our individual meetings the other day, and we only have like 4 people that have played a full season. because our freshmen haven't played a season. Even our juniors, they played one fall and they played a spring, but they haven't played one all together. So it really is crazy. And our, upperclassmen and our grad students are like, these freshmen, sophomore, they don't really know what they're in for right now. We're talking about class scheduling, and they're like, hey, they have no idea what the season, they thought fall was tough, and it's like, oh, no. Wait till we're on the road and you're in hotels and you're traveling, your flight gets delayed and you're coming back and you're having to play on, 2 hours of sleep. I'm excited for them, but they have no idea.
Well, that's a great point. I didn't realize that. You're right. I mean, you've got the new faces you've got now coming in. Have you felt like you've almost had to relearn them? Because obviously, when you recruit a kid, you have a good sense for who they are and what they can bring and things like that. But, over the last year or two, there's been a lot of virtual, contact, not really in person. Have you almost had to, kind of relearn them a little bit, get to know them again, and they had to get to know you again and how they fit in with this veteran group, the veterans that are back?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what fall was about. Which I love fall. Fall is one of my favorite parts, of our season, because they do get to learn that stuff. And we learned last year how important the fall is, because we had 5 freshmen. We threw them right into the spring. We threw them right into Notre Dame and Liberty. Said, here, go play, without having to play in the competition coming from high school. So like, obviously these freshmen come in from high school and they, state players of the year, Gatorade State players of the year, they're this and that. All of a sudden it's a shell shock when the ball's flying out of the park 300 feet. And they didn't have a chance to kind of do that in the fall. Even like this year's freshmen had a fall. We also inter squad a lot. So we've got a lot of our hitters facing our pitchers. So they see that and it's a reality. And it's like, hey, it happens. It happens to the best of us. I mean, Pedro, one of our best pitchers, at practice, she's given up home runs, 300-400 feet. And they were like, hey, it happens. So I think our freshmen know when they're expecting, and you can pitch the best pitch in the right location, and these hitters are that good that they still could beat you. So it's not, you're kind of learning, but I think they're understanding that, you're not going to strike every batter out. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to use your defense. We're going to have to make plays behind you, and we got your back. And I think the pitchers this year, we have such a good pitching staff that they're understanding that, if they're hitting you, we're going to put somebody else in, and then they may be hitting them and we're going to go back to you the next day. So I think they're starting to understand that they can control what they can control, but there's going to be times where it's not going to be fun out there.
We're speaking with Villanova head coach Bridget Orchard here on In the Circle, the Big East champs. You mentioned the pitching staff. Obviously, let's start with Paige, who obviously is all-world, made one of the best two-way players in the country, hit .417, 9 homers, 44 RBIs last year, went 21-4 with a 2.12 ERA, and pretty much pitched just about every inning in the Big East tournament. At least it felt that way from every time I watched. Just describe her, what you've seen from her here, another year with her, and what you've seen in her growth this year, what you expect from her.
Awesome. I mean, we see leadership in her this year, really been there, done that, kind of understanding, again, the highs and the lows, because she's got all the accolades and she's won a lot, but she's also lost, she's lost a lot. She's been there and she's been a freshman and she's taken her lumps. We always talk about her when people ask about her, it's like she puts in so much work and so much effort that she deserves all this stuff. So obviously, like, she just naturally, again, like you said, she's a two-way player. She hits, she pitches, but she hits almost every single day. I mean, she's out there every day still. I've seen in this 5th year, she's working hard, she's running, she's training. I mean, she's doing all these things that I think a lot of people aren't willing to do. And that's what makes her good. Again, that's why we get excited when she does get the accolades, and she got the All-American last year, which was huge for her, one of her goals. And one of the big things is just awesome to see that as a coach, because she really does put in the time, put in the effort, and just more than anybody I've ever coached.
What's amazing, because I talked to her in that regional before the regional started, and she talked about she looked up to like slap hitters. I think she mentioned like Natasha Wally, and I'm like, wait a minute. And she laughed. I'm like, I know that's not what you're thinking. It's kind of weird to say, but like, you've known her for a long time. Talk about her maturation as a player. What part of her game surprised you, if anything? Was it the pitching or the power from her offensive game?
She's definitely unique. I'll put it that way for sure. Like you said, like she'll come up with things. I'm like, what? But definitely, I mean, her pitching, I think I'm impressed by her pitching out there. I mean, she loves to hit. I mean, that's what she does. She hits. So I think she's good in the box, and she loves to hit, loves to work on that. But I think her maturity as a pitcher, and not even talent wise, more mentally, mentally being able to lock in there, mentally be able to get over mistakes. She's given up again. She throws hard. She's going to strike you out or may hit a home run. So, I mean, that's her game. So she has gotten games where they've hit home runs, and to see her as she's grown to come back over that, give up that big home run, come back and strike out the next batter. or walk somebody and come back and get it out. Where in her younger years when she was playing, it was tough for her, I think, more mentally than it was physically, and now it's just she's getting older. So her keeping her body in shape and, not falling apart on us here just because she is. We talk about them when we have, 3 girls that are 23 years old. So it's great, but their bodies are wearing down. And she pitches a lot and she works out a lot and throws a lot. But I think just to see her over the years, understanding, she's a competitor, but I think for her understanding that we have the younger players and she's really kind of mentoring them and bringing them along. I think she's understanding more now that it's, I'm going to help other people. Like she loves to grow the game. She played in Florida this past summer, which is an awesome experience for her to be around other really good players. And I think it was really good for her to kind of understand that and say, I'm going to pass it on to these younger girls. And it's great for us as a program because I really do think, when she leaves, I think she's been with me for, feels like 5-6 years now. It'd be weird, coaching a game without her in it or on our roster. But I think it's going to be awesome for our program because the younger girls playing under her look up to her and they see us, and it helps me as a coach because there's no better role model I'd want than her.
Do you see coaching in her future? Is that something that would interest her? Or what did she want to do after she's done playing?
She's in political. We talk. She's going to be the mayor of Binghamton, which is our hometown. And we joke with her, but I kind of only half joking because I think she probably could be it. But yeah, she just has a bright future. I definitely could see her coaching. She hasn't mentioned she wants to go into coaching. Like I said, she's getting her master's degree right now, political science. She dabbles in a little bit of everything. I can definitely see whatever she's going to be successful at it because she's going to work hard and she knows how to compete. So I think that's going to be big, but maybe, she'll be the mayor someday.
There's a special bond between the two of you. Cause I remember in the regional presser, she said it was a no-brainer for her to follow you to Villanova because she wanted to help you achieve your dream of leading Villanova to the tournament. I mean, that's a special thing to say. I mean, I can't imagine how that made you feel because she didn't have to do that, but she did. And there's a special bond there that you two have had, obviously, since you've met.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're about. I think with coaching is the relationships, and I've been so blessed and so lucky to have so many great players. And more like you said, it's the memories that we have together, and the wins and losses. They're there, but you're like now we have my former players are having babies and families, and I'm more proud of them now than I've ever been. And I see the same thing with Paige. Like growing up, she went to my high school. I've known her since she was probably 10 years old. My assistant coach Gabby Ludi has a really tight bond with her as well. Coming to our Florida games at 10 years old and just following us, and then obviously coming to play for us, and then coming with us, like you said, to Villanova and helping us kind of fulfill our dream. It's been really, really special. And she comes from an amazing family. Her parents are there supporting us every step of the way, which is another, plus for us, just knowing that, we have people that have our backs and that trust us. And again, it's going to be a lifelong relationship when we're done.
How much have you had to evolve as you've seen her evolve? Because you obviously, when you've known her for a long time, so you probably had an idea of her, what kind of player and what she could do for the program. But I'm sure there's things that she did that even surprised you as you got to know her and you got to be around her. You're like, whoa, maybe we should kind of expand our thoughts about how we use her, right? I mean, I don't know if you ever always plan on using her as a two-way player, or at least as much as you have in the roles that she has become, obviously.
No, I mean, definitely. I mean, we put her out in the outfield for her bat. And she's in this fall, she's been amazing plays. Even last spring when we played Butler, Sarah Kennedy was throwing a shutout, and one of the big pieces was Paige Rowe threw a runner out from right field. We have her out for a bat. We're like, look at this kid. She's making plays. I think at regional, she hosts somebody at third base from right field. And they're like, oh, she's just out there because her bat. I'm like, actually not. She's actually a really good outfielder. And I've had her at shortstop. I've had her at first base. I've had her at second base, pitching, outfield. She's played every single position in her career for me, other than probably catch. And she could probably do that if we put her behind there. But I think that's what amazes us most is just, and her ability to play that role. She wants wherever we're going to put her. One, she's going to accept it. She trusts us to put her wherever we need her to be, whether it's the DP or whether we do put her in the outfield. Then she's going to play her heart out, and she's going to do whatever she can to help this team win and to help their goals, whether it's on the mound, in the box. She's going to do whatever it takes, and that's what's really special.
How much do you have to talk to her about, don't try to do too much? Because obviously there's always expectations with what she's accomplished. She has probably expectations for herself. But as you mentioned, she doesn't have to do everything for herself, like the Big East tournament where the times they wouldn't pitch to her. That's okay because you got hitters around you. How much of that has that evolved with her as far as talking about making sure she doesn't do too much and put too much pressure on herself?
Yeah, and I think that's great where she trusts her teammates. I mean, Angela and her and Julia and her last year, and their roommates and good friends. And I think that helps a ton because I think she knew, she didn't put that much pressure on herself in the Big East tournament as she's done in the past. I think she knew, what, if I don't get it done, I trust these guys behind me. And we've been flipping Angela and her kind of 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And I think it does take some of the pressure off of her knowing that they're going to step up and they're going to do their job. And I leave a lot of that talking stuff to Gabby Liddy, my assistant coach. Her and Paige have a great hitting relationship, and they butt heads and they know how to work with each other. But I think Gabby gets inside her head more than I ever could.
Talk about the rest of the pitchers. As you mentioned, obviously, it's because it's not just going to be Paige. You're not just going to depend on Paige. Talk about the rest of the staff and what we could expect there for folks that are going to watch Villanova.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sarah Kennedy, has been right there along the way, right with Paige every step of the way. So she doesn't hit. So she probably doesn't get, the attention, obviously, that Paige is going to get on that end of from a pure pitching standpoint. Her freshman year, I mean, she pitched in that Big East tournament, out in Chicago, and we were the 4 seed, St. John's #1 seed, and she got the win as a freshman on that mound, pitched, a complete game win. And I think people don't even realize, she was a freshman, now she's a senior. And for me, it's even gone so fast. It's like, wow, she's a senior. And she's been incredible. She's dealt with some injuries along the way, and she's been battling through them. And, came back strong this fall. I mean, she was throwing a perfect game. I had to take her out of a game because it was a fall game. I needed to get somebody else experience, but, that's how good she's playing. And again, she's a kid she's not going to hit for us, but she's going to pitch and she's going to work and she's going to be a leader and we're lucky. I think these freshmen coming in and obviously our sophomores and our juniors, they're going to look up to Sarah and her work ethic. And that's one of the biggest things we have going for us is these kids that do work when nobody's looking. Like, we don't need to be there. They're going to work on their own. They're going to show up. Their attention to detail is awesome as a coach because they get it. They get what I want. They know what we expect from them, and they know what it takes at this point. She was a freshman coming in, and we lost. And she said, I don't want to lose again. We had our sophomore year. We had a COVID year. We had last year and we won. So now she's come back for senior year. So I feel like she kind of has a great handle on, hey, this is what it takes. And does it mean it's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I think they know what they need to do to prepare. So I've been really impressed with kind of their work ethic and what they're bringing to the table. And then, those two will probably, be out there going at it. And then we got an incoming freshman, Kelsey White, who's got, big shoes. She's a freshman and she's got a lot of accolades. And we're super excited about her coming in as one of our high recruits coming in. And I think it's gonna be awesome for her to bring her along. We're really able to bring her along with, Sarah and Paige. And we have a sophomore, Carolyn Pelicano, same thing that, she has this experience. She's the one I tried to throw in that championship game in the 7th inning. And she's looking at me like, are you crazy? But so, I was able to get her in there. And this fall, she's just gotten bigger and stronger. And she's a sophomore. She's not a freshman anymore. And she didn't have the ability to have fall last year. So she's going to be ready to go. So we're super excited about that. Alyssa Seidler, unfortunately, she had a shoulder injury. So she's not throwing right now. But I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anybody. Sorry, pitchers. This is the first time coaching. I think we've had, 5 or 6 pitchers.
It's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
It is. Tyler Noren. Again, so none of our other freshmen, coming in, the kid's a beast. She can hit, she can hit and she can play defense and she can pitch. She's a big kid coming in for Virginia. She's one we didn't see in COVID. We had to recruit her virtually, but her ball moves and it's a great fall. Our pitching was our strength this fall because we had so many of them being able to throw for each other. But she's going to be a big one coming off and getting some starts, closing out some games. She's very stoic out there, just gets after it. And obviously, Coach Chelsea, working with each pitcher, we have a lot of different tools that we're using with them.
Offensively, hit 296 as a team. You scored a bunch of runs, hit for power, and it definitely showcased that in the Big East tournament for those that watched it on TV, national audience. What do you talk about your offense this year and the outlook there? You got some returners back, some big bats coming back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited about what we return, obviously like you mentioned with our offense, but I'm really excited about our newcomers as well. Ava Franz is stepping in. We had some injuries. Megan Kern was out this fall. She'll be back for the spring, but obviously our returning shortstop, one of our main power number 3 hitters. So she was also, Ava Franz stepped in, haven't really played short before, got in there, got after it, really hit well for us by the end of the fall. She was hitting home runs, like, so she was out there just competing, getting after it as a freshman. Chloe Smith coming back, obviously she's a power and she's a steady for us. And she's just somebody that shows up every day, ready to play, ready to get after it. So we're returning our 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, hitters coming back. Julie DaCosta will be big shoes to fill. She came through huge in that Big East tournament, hitting home runs for us, but missing her, but I think everybody else, bringing Ava in and some of the other freshmen coming in with their bats. I think it's going to be a big offensive year for us. Our catchers, Ryan Henry, Allie Jones, we talk about a lot. We inter squad, and it's great because we hit a lot of home runs. We're like, our pitching might not be great, but I think it's good for our pitchers to face those hitters because it's scary to face them. We practice right now. They're redoing our field, so we're up on the turf, and there's cars parked all around the soccer field. And we're like, we're not going to hit cars. Well, yeah, yesterday, the day before, we're putting them over into the parking lot, which is exciting. But at the same time, I'm like, we might get in trouble if we do more live hitting out here. So we have to be kind of careful. Again, as a coach, it's great to see, but I know last year we had to put notes on cars like, sorry, we put a ball through your window. One trainer's car that was parked out there that we put the ball through. Oh. So those are some challenges, but it's good. I think the offense, I think we're a tough lineup to face. I don't think you can pitch around anybody this year because we have so many big coming up, right down through, our 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters, down at the bottom of the order, Sydney Hayes. She's been batting usually like 7 or 8 for us in the fall. She's hit big home run for us. So it's going to be interesting this year to see how people face us.
Yeah, you mentioned Ryan Henry, 295, 13 homers, 38 RBIs. The power numbers are extraordinary. Was that what you expected? Is there more to come? Like, what's the ceiling for her from that standpoint? Because I don't know if people realize the power numbers she had. I mean, Chloe Smith, clutch hitter, 356, 6 homers, 34 RBIs. But you have balance across top to bottom in that lineup.
Yeah. Oh, Ryan Henry. I mean, she's so fun to watch. I mean, she's fun when we do like front toss, which we do, every day on our field almost. So fun to watch her and the power that she has and how far she can actually hit balls. She's probably one of the kids that hits between her, Megan, and Paige. They hit balls so far, it's just fun to watch the balls come off their bat, but I think she's just scraping the surface here. She's just really getting into it now and really coming into her own. The confidence is there. I think a lot of hers was, she's always been a great hitter, but I think mentally, she questioned herself, didn't have the confidence and wasn't in our top, 4 hitters, kind of batting 5th and 6th and questioning, how good she really is. And she's awesome. She's amazing. And once that clicks for her, which it did last year, finally realizing, what, I deserve to be here. I'm supposed to be here. I'm a good hitter. Then she started playing really, really well.
That's amazing there. And you mentioned the new faces. Talk about this class, because you've been excited about this class. And people forget, it takes a couple years when a coach takes over a program to get some of their players coming in and get, and some of the recruits coming in. So talk about this class and how you fit the new faces with these veterans that have won a championship, that have been to the NCAAs, and that trying to form that chemistry.
No, it's cool. And I think our upperclassmen have been great with them. We have Angela Giampaolo and Pedro, they're, 5th year grad students, and they're getting older and they'll talk about it. And then, you have the young kids coming in and just wide eyed and excited. And I think it's so cool for our freshmen to be able to play with them. Cause I don't think, obviously before COVID, they didn't plan on being able to be on the field with Ange and Paige. They thought they were going to be graduating with them. They got here. So I think they were excited about them being here and being able to look up to them and, vice versa. And I think that they've really taken on that role, leadership role, mentorship role, and kind of teaching them this is how we do things. This is what it takes. And the freshmen were right there, kind of like just listen to everything they say and taking it all in.
You mentioned, obviously, the veterans, you win the Big East. And I want to talk about the Big East because I thought the league had a banner year under the tough circumstances. A phenomenal Big East tournament, too dramatic for you, but from an outside softball fan, it was exciting with so many storylines. Obviously, you getting into the tournament. If you didn't win the Big East tournament, maybe you still get in. We'll never know. Good thing we don't have to worry about it. But DePaul was in the mix for the tournament. UConn making a conference championship for the first time since 2001, and their great facilities provided a great atmosphere. Just talk about the year for the league, because obviously the Big East is known for basketball, rightfully so. But I think there's some opportunities here with softball, and we've talked about this. There's no reason why the Big East can't be like what the A-10 was, which will be when you were there, a multi-bid league.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's our goal. And I think that's why it's so great to have, fellow coaches with Tracy and Laura and Jill and Pat and, just getting out there and knowing that our goal is to get, as a conference, we want to get 2 or 3 teams there. Obviously, everybody's shooting to win that Big East championship, and you win that, you automatically go. But we feel, with the schedule we play and the players we're bringing in and the work we're putting in, that the Big East absolutely can have 2 or 3 bids in every year. I mean, these coaches are really getting after it, and they're getting players. And like you said, we compete, but at the same time, we'll really have each other's backs. I think we found that the most during COVID. We'd have a lot of coaches Zooms just with the coaches, and it wasn't about X's and O's and strategy. It was like how we're sticking together, how getting our players through this, what we're doing for them, how we're supporting our teams, and really how we're supporting each other. And I know they were there for me, and we were all dealing with different things, and we have families that we're dealing with, and this and that, and we're going through COVID. And I think it was just really special, and kind of brought, not on purpose, but I think it really brought the Big East coaches as a staff together, and kind of setting our goals, as what we're going to do as the Big East and how we're going to position ourselves with recruiting. Obviously we're up against Power 5. A lot of the girls recruits, they want to go Power 5, they want to go Power 5, and we don't fit in that mix as a Power 5, but we feel our programs could be just as good or get more bids in some of those Power 5 leagues, and that's kind of what our goal is. And we've talked about it, and I think everybody wants to put the work in and get there.
Well, no doubt. I mean, and I think of a DePaul, I mean, they're a big brand softball program. That's a program that's been to the World Series. And I'm noticing that schools in the Big East are investing in softball. Obviously, UConn has a new facilities. You're getting some updates to your facilities. Talk about what's going on at Villanova there, because I know there's some recent news there with your facilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're thrilled. We're so excited, and we can't wait to get out there and play. So they started construction in our field. They started October 12th. When fall is over, it's all dug up right now. They're putting turf in the outfield, dirt in the infield, turf all around. So we'll have turf around, in front of the dugouts, our batting cages, our bullpens, everything's going to be turfed. New wall padding. We're getting a new scoreboard, a video board. So it'll be super exciting. We're actually naming it after my previous coach, Maria DiBernardi. So it'll be the Maria DiBernardi scoreboard, which is, just awesome, and an honor for me to, be on that field and to be able to honor her at the same time, and to kind of see that scoreboard out there playing. And she was big in the Big East. I mean, she was in the Big East for 34 years. So I know that, all of her fellow coaches and that had retired or are currently still coaching are really excited about that. And I think our girls, just to play on a field, and it's really, they're not going to do, it's phase 1. So we're not getting the stadium seating yet. We're not doing the bathrooms or the dugouts, any of that stuff yet, but we're hoping that's going to come. So this is phase 1. Pretty much just going to be the playing surface, the outfield fence, make some changes on the fences a little bit on the sides, but it won't be completely done. I still have more to go. I don't think administration knows that I'm going to keep pushing for more, but right now this is the beginning, and we're still fighting. We're still getting that battle. We still want to see, obviously we saw what's happening with Oklahoma right now, which is so amazing that, they're getting sponsors like that. But women's sports, in the Big East are putting it into, we're hoping to get lights eventually to host and be able to host a tournament at our place. Obviously the seating, we'd like to get some more outfield seating, the dugouts, the press box. I see more improvements coming, but right now we're really excited what they have, given what we were able to do. And it's the alumni have been so supportive with donations and, making this happen, and kind of putting the pressure, on our administration to, hey, we need this to happen. We need to get this done. And, everybody at Villanova's been amazing making that happen and kind of pushing it through, because we didn't know, with COVID, is this really going to happen? Is it going to be built? There's a lot of projects going on campus that have been held. And obviously during COVID, construction was halted. So now that they've actually started it, it's been awesome.
What's the timeline and the big picture and all this? How can people kind of, if they want to help out, where can they find more info on it?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing we have it, there's a website that we're putting up that we're going to start, tracking the progress. This project right here will be done, by February for the start of our home season. So they started it now, they're digging, they're putting the turf in, that'll be done. And then going phase 4, we're going to fundraise, we're going to have to get donations. We're going to have to get it in there. And our Brian Beecham, who runs our development, he's doing a great job with that, kind of pushing out to our alumni. We're going to have a big event on February 5th. It's our first pitch reception, where we're going to get our championship rings. We're going to the Wells Fargo Center for the UConn Villanova men's basketball games. We'll get honored on the court. Hopefully our hype in there. It'll be really exciting. I mean, for recruiting, for alumni, just again, give the girls their due that they deserve. So I think that's going to be exciting. We're hoping, people are going to get behind our program, both financially, physically, just being there to support our girls as well.
I like you just threw that in there. We'll be courtside here, UConn, Big East basketball, UConn, Villanova, no big deal. We'll just be celebrate there. But I'm glad you brought up the facilities, because that's become a big thing in college softball all over the country. And I think more people realize with the popularity of the game, softball's become a spectator sport. People want to go to softball games like they would go to a baseball game or a basketball game. How much influence have you had as far as what goes into a facilities? Because you've traveled, you've seen how the facilities have been done, whether it be down in the South or all over the country. So I would imagine you have some ideas and help pitch this to the school and help them. And I'm sure they've asked you about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just laugh because that's what I do. I send pictures daily. I think I sent, Mark Jackson our idea, the tweet yesterday from Oklahoma with their facility. And I sent that off to him, knowing that he's going to get a good chuckle out of it. Like, don't even think about it. That's not happening yet, but we think big and that's what we want for our girl program. And so we go play at these facilities. When we go down to Florida, we go down to Georgia Tech, we're constantly, taking pictures down in Arkansas in 2020, and they had an amazing facility. We literally took a lot of stuff that they have at their fields. Obviously, we're not going to have that SEC type stadium, but we can pick and choose. I mean, UConn, we stole a lot of the stuff that they were doing there, and like, hey, we want this, for our turf, or we want this for our outfield, or these are the kind of fencing we want, and the wall padding. When I was at Alabama's, when we picked up, they have the action shots on the wall. I'm kind of pushing for that at Villanova. I don't think that's going to happen. They want something a little more classic, so we might not be able to get that. I'm big with the cat head and kind of a lot of gaudy stuff, and they want to be a little more classic. So we'll see, but that's kind of what we're doing, is kind of like just copying. I've done that with my coaching style, and then kind of see something, pick it up. And I love going to these facilities and seeing what they have. And again, being out of Arizona and just what schools, even like you said, the mid-major, the programs that are picking up on, again, social media, you can see it all on Twitter, and just to see what they've done. And UConn's facility, between their indoor and their outdoor and their cages and just the stands, the stadiums, everything was really first class.
Well, and listen, I mean, it's funny because you're going to Gainesville that, Tim Walton I spoke to, who had hands-on on the renovations they've had there. And he talked about, he took ideas from different places he's been to, and not just one thing. And he just, wow, that's a cool idea. I didn't think of that, whether it be different stadiums that he's been to. So that's pretty common what you're doing. I think it's smart, because there are a lot of different ways to come up with a stadium. And even if you can't do it at your place, you could come up with a similar idea or something different, that kind of makes kind of similar deals. So it's always good to have a lot of different options. I have a feeling you're going to be sending some photos when you're in Gainesville. I'm just going to throw, having been there myself, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I'll get Mark ready for my text messages. I think he knows that I'm going to send him some stuff, and I'm sure he chuckles and says, okay, but he knows that when he hired me, I'm going to keep pushing, and I'm going to keep trying to get the best we could possibly get for these athletes.
But how big is that as somebody who's been successful in the Northeast? And we've talked about the stigma of Northeast softball and trying to grow and trying to be successful, and some of the disadvantages you have with the weather. And we've talked, what having facilities upgraded and having that support is a huge step for a program like yours and other programs in the Northeast. And I think it's a great example for other programs in the Northeast that you can be successful, and as long as you have the funding and you have the backing.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think the sport is the biggest thing. You just knowing people kind of share a vision with us. And like I said, when I took the job and met with Mark Jackson, I mean, that was the big thing, is we really clicked on a lot of different things and a lot of ideas, about the players, about the relationships, about the facilities, about the schedule, about what we wanted to do, and what we wanted to bring here, and to kind of see it all happen was just really cool. From winning, the Big East championship, and that's what he really wanted as well. He really wanted to win a championship, and to be able to do that and do that for him and say, kind of come through on our promise, like, we're going to make this happen. And then see him come back and say, hey, you know what? Hey, we're going to give you a stadium on top of that, which it's just really neat to see, how we're working together and how we're making things happen. And we're not going to have the best of everything, but we're going to make the best of what we have. We're getting indoor facilities just being built right now. Baseball's building a new indoor hitting cages facility that we're going to have access to as well. And that's just another step up for our girls to be able to train. And I think, again, always being in the Northeast, I don't know anything other than that, but I do think it kind of puts a chip on our shoulder. We know I work these schools that are outside practicing every day, and there's something to be said about trudging through the snow with your backpack and your helmet and kind of going off campus and getting your cuts in and just working. And we kind of feel like, hey, that's the grind in us, and that's the kind of athletes we like to get that want to push. And they don't want to obviously have barriers, but at the same time they know how to get past those, and they know how to work hard, and they're going to be gutty, and they're going to be gritty, and they're going to kind of get after it.
You were a Northeast player. How much has that helped you through this process, knowing, hey, what would a student athlete in the Northeast need to be successful, or want, that I would imagine that has had to help you as somebody that's been in those shoes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing is knowing that, hey, it can be done. And even seeing the, JMU make the run that they made last year. I think that was awesome. And I think everywhere on the edge of our seats watching those games, just really, really rooting for them, obviously as a mid-major, not in a Power 5 conference, and what they were able to accomplish. Obviously, they have a beautiful facility and they have a lot going for them. But at the same time, it shows everybody else, hey, this can happen. This can happen in the Northeast. You can do this. And if you work hard enough and you put the time in, put the energy in, it could happen. And it's not going to happen overnight, but the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. And I know that they've put a lot into that program, over the years. It wasn't just an overnight success, which I think people think they came out of nowhere, but us that are in the softball world, no, they've been really, really good for a really, really long time. They just kind of broke through, right time, right place, but they've been knocking on the door for a while. And I think for the Northeast girls to kind of see that they can do that, cold weather can get it done. And, when Michigan won, back in the day, I think that was another big thing for the cold weather schools. Like, hey, this can happen. It's not just California and Arizona, it can happen somewhere else. So I think that was a big step when Michigan did that. I think JMU doing that set the pace for us. So I think that it's going to be exciting just for women's sports in general, obviously in the Northeast. And hey, you know what? Like, we can do this. It's not ideal situation to be playing when it's 40 degrees out and we're in your hat and your gloves, but I think that they appreciate it. We do get down in the warm weather. They really appreciate being outside because we're going to be in the gym for a month before we actually play. So I think that that's another thing to the table. When we get out, we're ready to get after it. It's not like we've been playing outside all year long.
I think I've asked you this before, but I'll ask again, just so kind of, college baseball in particular has had a lot of talk about pushing their season a little bit more forward, starting later in the season. Has there been any chatter on that in softball? Is that something you'd be in favor of? Is that a big deal? I know you're going to adapt either way, but starting the season later, I would imagine would benefit programs like yours just because you may have more home game opportunities. The weather would be better. Has there been any chatter on the softball end?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would love that. A perfect world, that's what we would want. I mean, we'd save on our budgets. We take these flights and we take 5 preseason trips, and it's not. I mean, we enjoy those, but it's not because we want to. We have to because the weather, and that's kind of how we pitch it to our administration. We need this budget because it's snowing here. We can't play a February tournament. There has been some chatter about. I think the biggest thing is the TV. The TV, and we're really excited about the support we get from ESPN, and all the regionals are televised. And the World Series advertised, and that's something that as a softball community we don't want to lose. And I don't have the inside information, but that's pretty much what we're looking at and what we've been up against. We've talked about, hey, what if we push it back? But that may mean, we're not going to get the television coverage that we deserve, and nobody really wants to deal with that.
Plus, the Southern schools are like, wait a minute, we like hosting tournaments. We want to invite you to come down here. Why, right? So, I mean, I'm sure Southern schools are also kind of pushing back on it, but it's just kind of been a fascinating topic because it's not just a softball topic. It's been a really hot topic in baseball that they've been even coming up with experiments and trying to do some research and things like that from an attendance standpoint. It's been fascinating. So I was always interested on the softball end where that was, where that is compared to baseball, because I know in baseball, that's a really hot topic in that sport. Let's talk about the Big East. I want you to put your analyst hat. Since you've arrived in the Big East, I don't know if the word surprise is the appropriate word, but what has stood out to you about the league that maybe you didn't know going in?
It's changed a lot. Obviously, I played in the Big East, so it's interesting. Everybody said, "Oh, one's in the league. They're the first time in." I'm thinking that's crazy. They were my biggest rival when I was a player. In the '90s, UConn won it. That's what they were. So to hear like, "Hey, they're back in," it's like. And I was talking to our women's basketball coach Janice, who played the same time I did, and she thought the same thing. And she's like, "Great, they're back in, and now they got to play UConn basketball." But for us, it was the same way. UConn softball for me has kind of always been in it, but obviously it used to be Notre Dame, and there were some other pretty big powerful schools in it. And now we're back. Having DePaul in it and watching them. I remember I was at a coaches convention clinic and we went out to the World Series, and Tracy was actually pitching for DePaul at the World Series. So it's just so funny to see a small school. We kind of, again, followed her team and talked to Coach Lenti as I was learning. I was becoming a coach, and watching her pitch at the World Series. So I knew, obviously knew DePaul and how powerful their program was, but even seeing that the facility enhancements they're doing up at Providence, what Jill is doing up there, and with Creighton, we haven't even been there yet. We haven't been in the Big East, and we haven't been out there yet. We go there this year because of COVID and because of weather, and Butler, they known them. They were in the A10 for a hot second. I think we went out there once when I was there. So we knew a little bit about them. And obviously, unfortunately, Georgetown couldn't play last year, which was, heartbreaking for her girls, for her and her program, but yet she was still really active in the Big East on the coaches' calls and just really pulling and pushing for us. So I think that the biggest thing, I mentioned it before, was even the relationship with the coaches and how supportive everybody is. To each other, to the programs, to the girls, and they're all doing it for the right reasons. They all want what's best for the student athletes, and I think that was big for us. But as far as competitive, like, you can't take any game off. You really can't in this conference, because anybody at any time can win those games. And we saw kind of last year, who beat who, and we lost to a team that didn't make the tournament, and we're beating teams that made the tournament. So it's anybody's game. And obviously that's in the nature of softball in general, is
Sure.
Anybody can win at any given day. But I really feel that way in the Big East. We only take 4, we've been pushing for 6. We take 4 to the Big East, and it comes down to that last weekend. Usually, it might be one team that usually kind of, my 2 years that I've been in it, kind of gotten in early, but that 2, 3, 4, it's anybody's game. It could be a rain out that costs you going to the tournament, which, is unfortunate, but it's that slim of a margin, which is why we've been pushing for that 5 and 6, because we just really feel we want the most deserving to be there. And sometimes, the most deserving really playing well at the end, but they dropped a couple of games early and they don't get to that tournament. So it's competitive, and there's no givens who's going to make that top 4. I mean, we do obviously a prediction, you have your ideas, but it really could be any of the teams in there.
Last year you could have easily been a multiple big league. It could have gone either way. I know that's the goal. For those that don't follow the league, tell them about this league, the talented players that are in this league that people are going to follow, and really make the pitch of, hey, this is why we're probably going to be, we could be a multiple bid league, is because of the coaches and certain players in these programs. Like DePaul, Connecticut's got a lot of players back, including the freshman of the year. DePaul's got players back. Even the teams that we haven't talked about have players coming back. Just talk about the league as somebody who's got to now obviously scout them and go up against them.
Yeah, no. I think of that things, these teams, non-conference opponents that we're playing. I know UConn plays a tough schedule. DePaul plays a tough schedule, playing the big dogs. And I wouldn't take them lightly. I wouldn't take a day off. I wouldn't sleep on the Big East. I really wouldn't, because they, like you said, they all have, all conference players coming back, rookies of the year is coming back. And DePaul, they're always good. They're strong, and they have kids coming. I mean, I'm grateful to see some of them actually graduate. I think she had some kids that were there 5, 6 years. Like, geez, Trace, like how many times are going to face these girls, and they were just beasts. I think their catcher finally might have graduated with a doctorate maybe by now. But I think she might be gone, but she was, just an incredible player. And again, St. John's, we can't forget about them too. They were regular season champs in that 2019, a great talented team come back. They're always super athletic. He does a great job recruiting and getting kids in there and just working hard and battling and fighting. I think that they're similar to kind of Big East is similar to kind of my style of play, I think, where they're really going to, play the chip on the shoulder. They're not afraid of anybody. They're going to play anybody at any given time. I've talked to Laura about it, about UConn, and very similar mindset. It's like, hey, well, we're going to get after it, and we're the underdogs when we go play these bigger programs, but they all understand like it's going to get us better, and we're going to fight, and we're going to work hard. And again, there's talented kids on all these teams. And pitching, I think UConn has some of the best pitchers coming back. Just from facing them last year, their pitchers were young and they were really good. So I think experience is going to help them a ton. They've been there, they've seen it. We're in the situation we were 2 years ago. You're in it and you lost. So that's fuel. That's big time fuel. So you can't sleep on a team that just has that passion.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting to see the league play. A couple last things. Obviously, now you've been there a couple of years, so you've seen Jay Wright up close run his program in men's basketball. I'm just curious, what have you picked out from just observing him, either on the court or even off the court, that maybe you've kind of taken now to your coaching and how maybe adapted to, hey, I should do this for my program because that kind of works for him, even though it's a different sport?
Yeah, I mean, just the biggest thing that stands out, just his calm, cool, collected nature. They show when they won that championship and they hit the game-winning 3, and he just nods and kind of walks off. I mean, like, I would have been jumping and doing backflips, so you know what, maybe I need to chill out a little bit and be more cool and calm and collected like him. And he's talked about that play. And he said he they prepared for that, and he's made that shot, and if it goes in, it goes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but he was prepared for the outcome. And I think that that's something that we've done in his relationship with the players, and just his genuineness with, with coaches. And he talks at our coaches. I mean, he waits outside his game. We have Hoops Mania is actually happening tonight, and he'll stand there and high five like and I don't know if we will now because of COVID, but he would high five every student that walks in, not student athletes, all the students, anybody on campus. Like, he's accessible and he's there, and he knows it's all about the people. And it's just so great to see somebody with his, like you said, with his stature and being who he is, but he's so real and so genuine. And his players, I mean, he treats them so well. And again, I think that's something, for me to understand in his relationship with his past, what he gives to the people that came before him, and definitely something that we learned. And obviously, his book Attitude, he talks about that and the character. So we recruit, and when he talks even with coaches, like, we got to do more of that. You got to recruit good people, and he doesn't just bring anybody into his program. He's bringing in good people and good human beings at the end of the day. And it's really worked for him. So we're hoping to kind of, take a little bite of that.
Yeah, and he's coming off, obviously, a gold medal in the Olympics. He was on that U.S. men's basketball staff with Greg Popovich and company as an assistant. And the thing that's always impressed me about him from afar is he's great at promoting the sport, his sport, right? Like, he's a great face for Villanova basketball. He's a great face for basketball in general. In fact, there's been a lot of media people that cover college basketball that, with Mike Krzyzewski retiring and things like that. A lot of people are think that he's going to be the new face of college basketball. As somebody who sees that, do you pick some of those things out? Because I feel like in some ways you're kind of one that promotes the sport of softball, especially in the Northeast. Ever since going back to when you were Fordham, I feel like you both have those similarities. You have a passion for the sport and sell the sport. Accurate?
Well, yeah, well, that's a huge compliment. Anytime you're going to compare me to him, I will take it. I will take it. So anything that I can take away from him or that's compared to him, I'd love it. I mean, again, like you said, his passion and his love for Villanova and his love for basketball. And I hope to definitely bring the same thing, the love for Villanova, the love for the softball community in general, and just overall, NCAA softball and women's sports. I think
Yes.
Women's sports, we're really trying to get behind each other and really support, women's basketball and, field hockey, lacrosse, soccer, really get behind them as well. And I think it's been really powerful. I think over the last, year or two, women picking women up, and it's been big.
Last thing, obviously now is wrapped up the fall and you get set before you know it, February will be here. What's going to be the keys for your team here moving forward? Obviously, you're going to be a target. Obviously, you're the defending champions now, so you have a different role. What is going to be the keys to have success and accomplish your internal goals?
I mean, staying healthy, honestly, I think the biggest thing for us, staying healthy, staying in shape, staying fit, keeping our passion, not getting too high, not getting too low, staying focused on the goal, and just really outworking everybody. And that's what we've done in the past. I think we've just outworked our opponents, and I think that's what we need to continue to do. You talked about it earlier a little bit, not getting too up there thinking, hey, because we're doing the ring celebration on the 5th, and like you said, that could get a little to your head, like, hey, we're there, we've already accomplished it. It's like, no, it doesn't mean anything right now. We don't care about accolades, we don't care about rings. We're about our 2022 season, and that's what last year's team did. Like, what's this year's team going to do? So we talk about that a lot. Like, hey, that was them, and we're celebrating them, and they deserve every bit of it. But this year's team is this year's team. So we're 0-0, and we just got to have that fight. And again, we're about having fun with them too. We want them to enjoy this. This is 4 years, college years. We want them to have fun with it and to enjoy it. And obviously, when you're winning, you're having a lot of fun. So we talk winning a lot.
Yeah, just do everything the opposite of what the Yankees have been doing this past year, right? Hell, they were injured, they were up and down. I'm teasing you. I mean, you're a Yankee fan. I had to throw that in there, but
I knew you would.
I knew you would. There, hey, you're in the same area with Joe Girardi, former Yankee great manager and Phillies manager. So that's pretty cool deal too.
Absolutely.
You got some good coaches in that market. I'll tell you what, Doc Rivers, right? Like Joe Girardi, that's good company.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anytime you put me up there with them, we'll take it.
Well,
learn a lot. Learn how to learn a lot.
Well, you're good yourself there. Thank you so much, Bridget Orchard, joining us here at Villanova head coach. Thank you so much for doing this. Always enjoy having you on the show. Good luck, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Absolutely. I want to thank you and put a shout out to you for all you do for the Big East, for women's sports, for softball. I always have a pleasure talking with you, and I appreciate you bringing the Big East on and bringing Villanova on. Thank you.